You are now listening to the Building with AI Promises and Heartbreaks podcast, brought to you by Solid.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Building with AI Promises and Heartbreaks. Today, I have Almog Shunim with me, the VP of Data and Research at AtBay. Thank you for joining today, Almog. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Yoni. How are you doing?
So Almog, you're the VP of Data today, but when I looked at your LinkedIn, I saw sort of the history of technology spread along your LinkedIn. You were a Java developer when Java was the thing, and then at some point you became a big data guy when everybody was talking about big data, and today it's data and research. So share with the listeners a bit your journey over the last couple of decades at a high level.
Yeah, so I started, as you mentioned, as a Java developer at a company named Converse, a big enterprise back in the days in Israel, in the telecommunication era. And over time, kind of evolved, kind of developing and kind of leading Java developers teams. I think at the beginning of 2010, when the big data buzz was around, when Facebook and kind of Google kind of talked about that Hadoop and big data and the amount of data they kind of processing, it's kind of my eye was kind of tracked into this area, and I learned a lot by my own on this domain, kind of really get attracted into this area. And I started my path in a company named Nice, when we kind of they joined a lot of kind of people from various kind of companies in order to build their big data and analytics platform. So this company where I kind of started my journey, and then kind of evolved into another company named Amdocs and a few startups, and kind of trap into this domain that I really kind of like, the domain of data, and not just kind of being a backend developer engineer. This kind of area of data really kind of fascinated me. How we kind of been able to process tons of information and get some insight around that. So afterwards, kind of build, it's kind of repetitive, kind of in different kind of companies, where I build from scratch organization that kind of managing this type of area, kind of from data infrastructure, ML and research, AI analytics, and also we're currently in my current company also kind of involved in cyber research and cyber engineering also in that domain. So this is
Amazing.
kind of
So
in a nutshell.
it's a journey of someone who came from software and technology and grew into data, and you've seen, the different
Yeah,
generations, which will be an interesting theme on the episode today. Now, today you're at AtBay.
yeah.
Try to say that three times fast. AtBay. What does AtBay do for our
So AtBay,
listeners?
so we are a cyber insurance company, and in the past 2 years, also a cybersecurity company. The main of kind of the company was funded on providing a cyber insurance for SMB in the United States. We saw kind of the founders saw the growing demand of companies to be insured upon cyber attacks. From the company funded, I think, in 2018, where we saw kind of growing the co-founders saw growing demand and growing attacks on companies on the cyber domain, kind of ransomware and financial fraud. And there was no kind of real kind of company that provided a solution for that, not just kind of insuring for this type of claims or incident that's happening, and also assisting those companies to be more kind of secured. So we are not just providing an insurance; we also, as part of the onboarding of a new customer, we are scanning the company from the outside and trying to understand the company cyber hygiene from the outside. And if we identifying some kind of risk, we are kind of alerting that to the potential insured, saying, "Hey, we found X, Y, Z. Please, in order to become an insured of a company, please close them." And also, when a company eventually is being kind of onboarded and being one of our companies that we are insuring, we are on a bi monthly basis scanning those companies and making sure that nothing has been changed from the kind of security posture, because security and cyber is kind of repetitive kind of thing that is happening and kind of changing over time. If the IT manager forgot to close some of the RDP ports or install new software, or there's some vulnerability that's being popped up out there on the dark web or somewhere else, This thing is kind of change rapidly, and we need to make sure that our customers are aligned with everything that we are finding and we are aware of, and we are alerting them upon that as soon as possible. And after I think 2-3 years, I think into this era of kind of just insuring our companies, we found out there, because we're more focused on the SMB domain, a lot of companies do not have the IT managers or security or CISO in the company, and they do not have understanding. They don't have kind of the Waze or other kind of security platform that they can see actually what is happening within the network. So we say, hey, we know whatever we are finding as part of our scans. Let's represent that. Let's create an app that those customers can see whatever we are finding. And so we offer that as a free as a free software for our insured. And over time, we also add more capabilities into this platform that they can also plug us into their inside network, and we can kind of get more insights regarding what's happening within their network, not just from the outside. And we develop more features like fraud defense. We saw an increasing demand, increasing kind of attacks on financial fraud, and we didn't find kind of any platform or service that helping our insured to secure them from that perspective. So we developed also capabilities that the customer can plug us into the email, and we can alert them if we're finding any fraudulent email, and say, hey, this might be phishing. Somebody's kind of trying to attack you from the outside. Please do not kind of transfer this money. And kind of because we are an insurance company, we're seeing eventually the claims, we're understanding the behavior and the pattern of the attackers. We can kind of eventually kind of develop something that we more be kind of tailored to our needs. And that's
That's
just kind of
amazing
in a nutshell.
to have both sides. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you have a lot of insurers that insure, and then you have this really long form, and they say, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? If you tick the boxes, then okay, they'll decide if they want to insure you, and then they'll decide on a premium. But what you guys are saying is we're going to attach to that also. First of all, verifying that your insured is following what they should be following, but also helping them be more secure. So not only are you reducing the claims, which is good for you, of course, but also you're helping the customer be more secure. So
Sure.
that's
Correct.
a pretty unique approach,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
We call that InsureSec. Yeah.
Summary. Yeah, yeah, and then InsureSec. Okay. Now, so you own the data there, right? So, is it all the data about about the policies you guys are selling, the customer's security posture? Like, what flows into that central data store that you're responsible for?
So currently everything is flowing into the main data warehouse. We kind of throwing everything that we have within our operational database, meaning whatever data that we are kind of producing in our platform itself is being kind of automatically kind of synced into the data warehouse. We're using Snowflake. And we also, every second and third party data vendors that we're currently working with, like um, HubSpot, NetSuite, Full Story, Mixpanel, you name it. We also kind of we wrote ourselves, or sometimes we're using kind of third party to kind of sync this data that eventually sits within those kind of second party vendors. And we also sometimes we're doing a lot of POC, or we kind of acquiring some of third party data with some security company. Also, this data eventually flows into our data warehouse. So we have everything eventually stored in Snowflake on the what we're calling this row representative of the data. And then we have the BI team that eventually is responsible for taking all this raw data and eventually kind of structure that in a manner that non-technical personas can query this data and get insights in a way that they don't need to explore where this data sits, meaning that, let's say, where the customer information sits, on which specific schema or database or table, in which column is kind of representing this kind of information. So we have the BI engineer is kind of responsible for sitting with different kind of stakeholders, understanding what is kind of the needs of what data they're looking for, and eventually kind of connect the dots, and eventually building those kind of, we're calling this our business data warehouse, we're calling it Olympus, and that eventually all this information is sits on a hourly basis, daily basis, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. So it's got a job. We wrote that everything in DPT. So this kind of job is running on an hourly basis eventually, as I mentioned, and kind of taking a snapshot of all our customers, claims, underwriter, policies, all this kind of important information that we have, and everything is being stored in the data warehouse.
Okay, amazing. Now, so what you described so far is sort of the typical what people are doing in the data warehouses today, right? There's BI, like you structure it in a certain clean way. Then there's BI on top of that. Your BI engineers work with it, etc. And then about a year ago, you guys kicked off a project called Oli. Is it OLLY or OLY? I think it was.
OLY. It's a shortcut of Olympus. Yeah. OLY.
Yes,
Yeah.
OLY. And
Yeah.
so why did you start that project? What was it about?
Yeah. So actually, it was we started it at the beginning of 2024. It's almost 2 years now. We just got to start thinking about it about 2 years ago, maybe a bit more. I think there were two main reasons that kind of drove me into kind of thinking about this project and eventually kind of executing it. One of them is the increasing demand. So the company currently we are around 350 employees. We were at the time maybe 400 employees, and the company eventually grow and grow. We have a lot of kind of different functions within the company, from business stakeholders like sales, like marketing, like we have product managers, C-level executive, and because of our data warehouse is very kind of robust, we have a lot of data stored over there. So a lot of kind of functions within the company as kind of not start, but kind of asking us all the time. I'm talking about on the hat of kind of also leading the product analytics and analytics team within our company. So start asking, not start, kind of continue asking more and more insights regarding, okay, tell me how we did from sales perspective for marketing perspective on this channel for this kind of quarter, for those partners, repetitive questions that happening on a daily basis. So we got a lot of requests getting from the various data stakeholders, business stakeholders, and also from product, sometimes also from R&D regarding, okay, give me this information. So some of them are not technical. They do not know how to operate SQL within Snowflake. They don't know how to log into Snowflake at all. Some of them are technical, but say, please save me the time. Just give me the numbers. So for some of this information, we have reports and dashboards within Tableau. So, okay, we're redirecting them to the reports. Go ahead and get this information. But sometimes, it's a niche or kind of specific requirements that we don't have any answers kind of prepared for them to direct them to a specific report or dashboard. So the analytics team all the time is kind of querying, understanding where the data sits and sending them via Slack. My team sits on Israel, so the data, the time zone issues. There, some of the business teams sits on PST on San Francisco. Some of them on East Coast on New York or Jersey. So there's a lot of kind of time differences. The week, our weekend is not their weekend, holidays, stuff like that. So it's become a lot of pressure and a lot of kind of ticketing I would say. Behavior become kind of to increase their demand and requirements and ask from my team to get this information. And we would like not to say, no, we don't have kind of the time for that. We like to be a data-driven company, and we'd like to provide them with these insights. On the other hand, the team has a lot of tasks, a lot of initiative that need to kind of drill down in more kind of in-depth analysis to get more insights regarding how the product is operate correctly or not, how we can move the kind of the needle on growth, on reduction of loss ratio and stuff like that. And they didn't get the time for that, unfortunately, because they're these repetitive questions, and they're only team of 4 analysts on a company that is kind of getting kind of bigger every day. So this is one of the kind of the reasons why. And secondly, the rose of AI, their AI kind of burst into our life by the end of 2022 when kind of ChatGPT was launched in November 22. And on the past year, I know we saw a lot of kind of the also the growing of this model and how they become kind of from models that just kind of are directionally okay to be more kind of accurate in some areas, and my CEO told me in very kind of various of occasions, hey, we have a great data science team, we have great data warehouse, we have great BI team. How come that I sits on a meeting with my family or friends or sometimes VC, and I would like to understand to get specific metric, and I do not have ability to extract this information? How? We have the AI, and we have this robust data warehouse. How can I get these insights? So he get very frustrated about that. So I say, okay, you know what, you're right. And so we start exploring a lot of kind of third-party vendors that kind of pretend to give you these capabilities. We conducted something around 3 POC, that each POC took around a month, just to prepare the kind of the ground for this kind of POCs with these third party vendors, to provide them kind of access to our data, and just kind of explain them how our data warehouse is kind of constructed, what is DPT, where is the documentation of Confluence, where is Tableau. Some of them also require get access to Tableau. Eventually, I would say, sorry for my kind of French here, but it sucks. The POC were sucks. The output and the results were really kind of shitty. Sorry for the word here. And got very frustrated about the time that we put, and they say they working with Fortune 500 companies and they're very accurate. So I say, okay, this is what is happening. It's very bad. So I say, okay. Then I kind of moved to another approach, say Snowflake. Also, I'm counting on Snowflake. Snowflake also released their Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, okay, Snowflake, all our data sits in Snowflake. So I assume their kind of Copilot will be good, but it also was kind of really bad, or maybe not that mature. I also kind of were only able to provide answers only on specific schema and specific table, and not a multiple table. So that was, our warehouse is not built for just one specific table or schema. So also it was not kind of something that kind of provided us with whatever we want. Then I say, okay, we have good, as my CEO said, we have good data science team. We have great kind of BI team that kind of build this robust warehouse. Plus, as part of kind of our kind of I would say practice of kind of deploying a new table and schema on the data warehouse, the team is making sure that each and every table and column and schema will be documented. We created a view per schema, DB, table, and column that will describe eventually what is kind of stored in this specific kind of entity. So we have kind of and if there's some kind of joins that we need to do with this specific, or this kind of column is will fail for multiple kind of other tables or columns, it was kind of described in the documentation on Snowflake itself directly. So we have all this information, plus we have the YAML of the DBT. So we say, hey, we have all this information, why not building that internally? So I sat with my data science team leader, and also with the BI team leader, say, let's try to make something here happen. And it was on the beginning, I think it was on the beginning of 2024. And then, all the, we thought about, we worked with LangChain. So say, okay, let's try to develop something that will be, LangChain at the beginning, it was kind of built kind of canonically, kind of on a way that you be able to ask question to work with LLM, ask something, get a response, and then you kind of back and forth. The agentic workflow was not there at that time. So we thought how we can develop something that we can go and ask kind of multiple questions and get answers in a way that we'll be more confident about that. So we tried to think about this architecture, and at the end of thinking January, by the end of January 24, LangChain, or the company of LangChain, kind of announced LangGraph. So say, hey, it's kind of the agentic workflow just started, and we say, hey, just kind of just right on time, whatever we needed, kind of to build kind of agent, with a centralized LLM that eventually you can create kind of the system prompt, the main system prompt, and provide it with the tools. And then you can kind of get to something that get the answers that we would like to get. So that was kind of the journey, and maybe you can drill down onto how we develop that later on. But
That's amazing. So I'm gonna summarize and connect a few dots. So you
Yeah,
basically said we have a great team. Um, we have very high demand from the business, from product engineering, sales, etc., wanting to get answers. And the team, there's only so much the team can do, right? Because if you think about it, a company of about 400 people, 4 analysts, it's a 1 to 100 ratio.
yeah,
So if you just kind of think about it as like, okay, I'm one person serving about 100 people, that's obviously a difficult ratio. So there's massive demand. And then, of course, the CEO comes in and says, hey, I can, why can't I chat with my data? I can do all these chatty things and our data is great. Why can't I chat with my data? Both of these drivers were, by the way, very typical. We see them a lot in organizations. And then you took your technical team and said, okay, let's try some products out there. Back then, they were terrible. They said, okay, maybe we build this ourselves and we have smart people. So let's go and build it ourselves. And so you actually went on this journey at a point where a lot of the technologies were very early on. I think a lot of the large language models weren't that great at doing text to
yeah,
SQL yet in
yeah,
2024.
yeah.
So you were, very early in this, like a pioneer in this space, in trying to deal with this. So, um, first of all, actually, I have a few questions, but let's start with one of them. So you took this path of building the bot by yourself using LangChain, LangGraph. Is that still the structure of the bot today? Is it still running using what you guys built a year plus ago?
Yeah, but it's kind of it's evolving over time. We adding more and more capabilities as time go by, and a lot of functionality
Mhm.
we're getting from a product, and a lot of users that currently utilize it. But yeah, the basic is still this kind of we're using LangGraph, and we have a set of tools that we are kind of adding over time more and more according to the needs and the complexity that we kind of getting from our stakeholders.
Okay, cool. So the bot exists now. If I remember correctly, it's a Slack bot. There's a channel that people can ask questions and it answers in there, right?
Yeah, correct.
So if I'm somebody from sales, I go into Slack, I ask a question, the bot picks it up, runs through the agentic flow that you built there, and then provides me with an answer. Um, Over the last year or so that people have been using it, what have you seen? What have you learned in terms of their usage, like the questions that they ask? Because I remember a few questions you showed me that was like, oh, this is really interesting. I didn't expect people to ask these things. So what
Yeah.
what did you learn about what people actually ask that bot?
So it kind of varies from very repetitive and very simple questions that we expected at the beginning that will be give me the GWP, the kind of the gross written premium on this specific partner for a specific date and time. So that was kind of repetitive stuff that we saw a lot, and yeah, we expected that will be eventually the main use case of it. But over time, we saw mainly our underwriters kind of training themselves and understanding how comparing themselves to other. So we are at that time, I think, half a year ago. We also targeted different kind of population within kind of, as I mentioned before, we are more addressed to SMBs, and in the year plus ago, we also start targeting a bigger company, kind of with revenue that are higher from $100 million and more.
Very nice.
Underwriters need to be trained into to tackle those kind of different type of companies and kind of bigger companies, and some of them were not trained to address those kind of bigger companies. So we saw one specific underwriter, and then eventually it was kind of we saw that among others that he first asked, "Tell me, Aldi, how I am compared to different underwriters within my team or within AtBay on selling on this kind of mid market channel." So he say, "Hey, you're kind of sucks. You are just written just $1 million in premium, and this is the amount of submission and quotes you had in this specific month or over the past month. And comparing to those, you're kind of way below." So he say,
Mhm.
okay. So he start asking it to training. Okay, tell me what am I doing differently from those kind of underwriters? I saw, I think, a gigantic kind of thread that this eventually kind of underwriter asked Ollie to tell him what he's doing wrong compared to the other underwriter, and what different kind of type of questions they're feeling differently, or why they're quoting more kind of policies than him. And eventually he get to the by the end of this thread to more kind of insightful things that he's doing totally different from those different underwriters. And eventually he kind of fixed that. He said, okay, you are kind of blew my mind. Thank you very much for that. And I saw him over month over month asking Ali, and we see kind of the gradual improvement of this specific underwriter on those key metrics that
Amazing.
eventually he got insights from kind of this bot. And eventually he got to the level of he's being an average plus compared to this kind of top leading kind of underwriters on this specific segment. So that was kind of mind blowing.
That is mind blowing, because if you think about it, that's not the kind of service that underwriter would have gone. So underwriter is somebody who works in your company and is serving a certain, a certain base of customers. And that person before Ollie would probably get a report that stack ranks that person and says, "Oh, you're number, 73 in the stack rank," and he or she would be, "Oh, okay, this sucks. I don't know what to do." Versus the AI saying, "Listen, you're way down here, but I can help you think about how to get better," and then the person gets better over time, which is mind-blowing, because not only does it make an impact, obviously, on your team because, you served the request, it makes an impact on the business because this
Yeah.
person is now more successful. But even more exciting, it makes an impact on this individual. This individual is going to be more successful in his or her role. They're going to make more money. They're going to be able to keep their job and so forth because of Ollie. Like,
Yeah.
it's you started with, I want to serve people's requests, and you ended up making people's lives better, if you think about it, which is
Yeah.
crazy. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Also,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, go ahead. You were about to say something?
Yeah, so we have. I can give you a lot of kind of different use cases that I didn't thought that we get kind of those type of questions. Also, kind of competitive kind of landscape of other kind of competitors. So we also as part of our data warehouse, we also capturing. We have some other kind of LLMs and AI models that eventually extracting data from our application forms that we're receiving from our
Mm-hmm.
brokers, and some of them are not at AtBay application form. So some of them kind of contains our competitors' forms with questions that the applicant eventually kind of fill. So we saw some of our I'm not sure who used that, but use this platform Alvi to get some insight regarding competitors' questions that we have that maybe we are missing within our form, and other competitors eventually extracting and asking, and also stack that, say, okay, what is the amount of kind of different questions that our competitors asking on VPN or MFA, and give me all this variance and how you see that frequently on the past quarter. And he gets them, those persona eventually got this insight, and eventually as part of that, we took some of the insight, eventually embedded them within our own application form that we have at AtBay. So I can give you tons of kind of stories of how the individual within a company is kind of utilizing this kind of capabilities that they didn't have before, to ask questions and see some trends and stuff that there kind of sits within the data. Nobody kind of thought how they can access it.
It's crazy. Like, a lot of times people think about chat with your data as, I'm just going to ask a question and it's going to spit out the data. But then you see what users are actually using it for. And users are creative and they're smart
Yeah,
and they're going to
yeah.
push it in different directions. Um, how much effort, if you had to like calculate the human months that went into building this thing, how much effort do you think you guys have invested so far, and how much effort does it require to maintain on an ongoing basis?
Wow, it's a good question, because I'm not sure that we eventually quantify the amount of time we spend on that, because I didn't mention at the beginning, it was kind of started as a sidekick. We didn't kind of plan as an actual project to run of that. I would say, I think roughly something around maybe 6 to 10 man month, again depending on the in kind of in total, but I think maybe less, but something around that. And
Okay.
currently on maintenance, I think we are just kind of, so we have a lot of plan, a lot of features to add more to Ollie over time. There's a lot of kind of
Mhm.
increasing requests from users that Ollie will support, accepting also kind of spreadsheet Excel or Google Docs as an input, and also spit out the result in spreadsheet or Excel, because
Okay.
we see a frequent and repetitive kind of users kind of sending a bulk of list of policies or claims and requesting some extra data regarding them. So instead of kind of copy pasting a list of a lot of kind of policy, say, hey, I'm gonna send you this Excel, please fill it out kind of automatically. And also other kind of type of users like also Ollie to generate a very kind of slim report, kind of graph or pie chart to use in some of their decks. Instead of kind of creating a Tableau dashboard dedicated for that, to say, hey, we have all this information. You can slice and dice it in a way that I would like you to do that. Please kind of spit out an image or something that I can also kind of embed within my deck or whatever presentation that I have. So we have our product managers created. We have a lot of kind of requests and kind of backlog for Aldi. We don't have the resources, so we try to push it out as a tech debts in some of the team, but it's on and off here and there. Some few weeks over here, on the data science team, some of on the BI team, but we're not kind of allocating a dedicated time for this, unfortunately. But because we have a lot of kind of business requirements, but maybe next year we'll put some kind of dedicated time for the teams to work on it.
That's kind of the classic build versus buy, right? Because you initially thought, okay, I'll buy, and you tried, and you were let down, and you said, okay, I'll build, and you built, and
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 now
it
you need
works
to
really
maintain.
well. Yeah, exactly. And now you're sort of, oh,
Yeah,
you call it a victim of your own success, right? It
yeah,
works really well. Now there are all these feature requests, and
yeah,
we don't have the time. It's a journey. I see a lot. A lot of people say, okay, the technology that we looked at didn't work. Now we ended up building it, and now okay. But the challenge is that this is not our main business, right? Our main business is insuring companies and making sure that they're safe from a cyber perspective, etc.
yeah.
Um,
I
so
I
yeah,
tell you the truth. I'll be happy if there's something out there will be kind of ready and with the quality and the accuracy that we have currently to replace, because as I mentioned before, now it's become a hurdle on us. We don't have the time. It's not our main business, and it's not the focus of the company.
mhm.
And I don't have the time for my team to spend on this, despite of the fact that it's kind of gaining a lot of value. But we have tons of kind of projects and a lot of kind of initiative within the company that we need to put our effort on, and we're not kind of putting this kind of resource or allocation is specific to Aldi because we have a lot of demand in other areas. So if I have something that will eventually will work smoothly and in the accuracy that we have today, I'll be happy to switch out. But I know we need to see if there's something like that will be there.
Yeah, that's a challenge. What a lot of people say is the demos look very nice, the reality maybe not so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Um, you mentioned accuracy a couple of times. How do you measure accuracy?
yeah. It's hard on the world of LLM, but so we put. Think I think we discussed that while ago, but in order to make sure that maybe I'll take kind of couple step back. At the beginning, our product manager say, "Hey, I would like something to be okay," meaning that we'll be close to we'll kind of close the hourly project to something around 10 main questions that we'll be sure that it'll be accurate, and if we'll see the level of accuracy is good, we'll launch it, and we'll say, hey, we'll do that disclaimer at the beginning, make sure that all these is good for this specific areas. If you ask something different on this specific other domain that was not being trained or kind of double check, be aware that the data is not kind of certified or something like that. But you say, hey, there's no way that we can launch something like that because eventually, if this will be the limitation, nobody eventually will use it. You cannot provide them something will be that just 5%, in the entire kind of domain of our data warehouse, you'll serve just 5% of the data or questions that we need. So it was a lot of kind of back and forth with the product manager on this kind of project, and eventually, what we said that we had, I think for this specific time, we allocated around roughly something around a month to. We launched it, we rolled it up at the beginning on a beta of eight users from different kind of domains, and we told them, "Hey, guys, shoot whatever you think on Albi. we are saying it's not 100%, it's not 80%, it's something around the 60, 70%. Be aware of that. And we put the BI team to work kind of to I didn't mention that, but also we develop a lot of infrastructure behind the scenes on all the kind of logging and making sure that all the chats and all the results and all the SQL queries that eventually Ollie generate within the kind of one of the tools will be logged on database. So we have ability to track all the interactions of a human with a bot and all the steps that the LLM doing on thinking and how eventually he decide what query to run. So we track and store everything, and also we identifying the chat ID, kind of the thread, into the database. So we can also go back to the Slack channel and see on the thread all kind of to find and allocate those kind of specific thread. So the mission of the team on the BI team was kind of go on all the threads that happen within the Ollie channel, kind of the Ask Ollie channel, and one by one check and verify that eventually the SQL that the Ollie generated and the results, if it's accurate or not, and mark them within the Slack that's kind of on an icon of an eye that we kind of investigated. We saw that, and we had a gigantic Excel with all the mismatches that we saw Ollie is kind of not good at, or the result is something 80, 90% accurate. And we did a lot of refinement to the system prompt to eventually we found a lot of areas that the documentation was not up to date, or some of the documentation on the data warehouse was missing. And we did a lot of back and forth in order to make sure that we've been in accuracy of something around 95% on all the kind of main areas. Also, we identified that all these kind of lacking ability to understand of specific metrics. And we add also a layer, a tool of metrics that we saw that is not good at. And we add on within the system prompt ability to say, if you find this hint of this specific metrics, please go to this tool of metrics and get the logic of how to eventually to calculate it. So over time, after this month of back and forth and improvement and fixing kind of the missing documentation, creating this tool of metrics, doing all this kind of fine tune to the prompt, we get to something around 95% accuracy. And we are not kind of testing that on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. We ask the users when we kind of roll out this for the entire company, we say, hey, if you're finding some issues within Ollie that you think that is kind of this major discrepancy, please flag it up. We have kind of a thumbs down kind of flag, and the team will eventually investigate it, and eventually we'll kind of try to understand what is the issue and fix that over time. One of our also roll-up item is to automatically, whatever issues is found, to create a Jira ticket to the team with all the thread, with all this information, kind of screenshots of everything happening within the bot itself, in order to kind of save time for back and forth, getting it into the thread in Slack and getting that. So that's also on our end. We also developed an evaluation kind of capabilities that we didn't have at the time. We released, I think, 2 major releases to the main prompt. And, with LLM, it's not 100%. So we cannot, if you're changing the prompt, you don't know what kind of issue that was, what question that it was 100% accurate will be kind of become wrong now because we modified the prompt. So we created again, not 100% good framework, but we're working on that of evaluation. So we have a set of something around 20 or 50 main questions that we know that is crucial for the company. So we set them, and we're running on the evaluation process. We're running them each and every question 100 times to make sure that Ollie is kind of making correct answers on the within a benchmark of kind of the threshold will be 95 to 98% accuracy. If we're falling from this kind of threshold, we are not able to release that until we kind of fixing the issues that we're finding. So we also build a lot of kind of framework behind the scenes of Ollie to make sure that each and every deployment that we're doing is not kind of harming the kind of prior kind of experience that our customers had within the Ollie itself. So it's an ongoing
Amazing.
process.
It's a whole product. Like it's, the things you're doing, I'm familiar with this from what we're building at Solid. It's similar things. Like we use LangChain, LangGraph. We you guys probably use Langsmith because you were talking about like the ability to see what it decided and how, etc.
Yeah,
Langsmith is really
unfortunately,
good.
I know. Yeah, Lightsmith is we did it just for the beginning of kind of building Ollie, because we have problem with Lightsmith. It's not they're not kind of providing you with 100% kind of making, you're not sure that they're not saying stating for sure that the data that you use within Lexmint won't be kind of utilized with their training. And we have very sensitive information
Oh,
on claims
yeah.
and claims data and customer
Yeah.
kind of information that we're not able to kind of share with Lexmint or by default. So we, to build all the infra, we use Langsmith in order to see all the chain and all the steps that he's doing. But we kind of develop something like that internally. Again, not with the kind of sexy UI that Langsmith have, but kind of all the, as I mentioned, kind of capturing all the logs and eventually building all the chain of everything's happening behind the scenes on the database. So we're using that in order to kind of to trace that. But unfortunately, we don't not using Langsmith.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's so because you have such sensitive data, Langsmith. Just for those listening, Langsmith, they have their SaaS.
Yeah.
They have a lot of security around what they do, etc. But you don't want to send your customer's claim information necessarily into Langsmith. By the way, I do think that they recently launched like a hosted solution of Langsmith, so you can
Oh,
host it. It's probably more expensive, I would imagine, but maybe something for you or
yeah. Maybe
anyone
you
listening to.
yeah, my kind of worth considering. I didn't know that, but good to know.
Yeah. 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 So, okay. Landgraph, Langsmith, you have the Slack bot. You built an evaluation mechanism that is really, really cool. That allows you to at least verify accuracy for the very, very common questions. So this is a lot of really good things for people who are listening to learn from. Going into 2026, so there's a few things around this, right? There's obviously, you talked about some features like generating images or uploading an Excel or Google Sheet, and the engine being able to work with that. What else do you think you're going to be working on around this in 2026? Are you going to be are there other functionalities, or do you have a dream to expand this into something, or is it largely the features we talked about?
Yeah. So currently, all these mainly focused. So we have a lot of technical stuff, as I mentioned before, kind of supporting files, generating images, kind of. We don't have any currently testing or production environment. We have just production. So we need to have a testing environment for do all the tests that
Yeah.
we're doing currently. So we need to have also that. But the main thing that we saw, and we're getting kind of increasing demand from our security department of the company. We have it. As I mentioned before, we are the company funded on the cyber insurance end, but we have also cybersecurity department that we have a lot of information regarding, everything that the customer experience within the project, kind of the tool that we develop stands for our MDR team, for security analysts that we have. This part is not module at all and not present. Ollie is not serving those kind of department at all. So they had an
Mm.
increasing demand to get also the goods from Ollie on this area. So we need first to model all the data. So we started that this quarter, Q4 2025. We started kind of moduling Olympus also to serve the cyber end. And we have also plans to improve that, to add more capabilities on the security data warehouse in Q1 and 2, hopefully for next year. And also to serve them, to have a dedicated Aldi for the cyber end that should be separate from the insurance, and to serve all their kind of growing demand, because they're seeing a lot of information. Would like to have, they have kind of different go-to-market. They have really engagement with the customer. So they would like to see how to engage customer, to how to convert some of those existing insurance company to be cybersecurity customers. For upsell for MDR, we have tons of information over there, but they not able to utilize it because we didn't model the data into the data warehouse. So there's a lot of kind of focus on next year, besides all the technical stuff that I just mentioned.
Yeah, adding more data. There's a lady named Michelle Zuzik who works at Box. She's in their security team. She's I forget the actual title, but basically what they did is they took a lot of their security data and loaded it into, I think it was Snowflake or maybe BigQuery, and built these AIs around them to be able to surface them. Like this is actually a trend I started seeing recently, where security teams, they look at their data as data and say, oh, wait, we can analyze this thing. We can actually build, BI around it. We can build AI interactions with it.
Yeah.
So that very much aligns with it.
Yeah.
It's a whole new use case that I think is starting to show up more.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end of our episode, so I do have what's called a lightning round. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Every question I ask, try to answer whatever comes to your mind, and then I'll ask you why you answer that. But try to just shoot back an answer, and that will be the last few questions today on our episode. So, are you ready? Ready, Almog?
Yeah. Hit me.
Cool. AI tool you can't live without.
Cloud Code.
Claude Code. Okay, why?
I'm today I'm working repeatedly a lot of projects on my own with it. It's providing me with good insights regarding reasoning how eventually it builds the project. I'm going with it on a daily basis to refactor some project that I have kind of on my own projects that kind of I'm thinking also to add to the team or the company to work with. So I have kind of loaded back and forth with it, kind of to understand how to structure correctly a project, how to refactor existing project. Again, the experience with it is kind of tremendous, and I'm kind of very fond of the tool.
Amazing. Okay, cool. An AI myth you'd bust in one sentence.
An AI myth that I bust in one sentence.
Yeah, in one sentence. Yeah.
AI myth that I will bust in one sentence, meaning kind of thing that is not working well. Sorry for.
Well, yeah. So basically, people, for example, people say AI is going to take our jobs, or AI is magical, or AI is like
No.
things people are saying about AI that you're like, BS. I don't
Ah.
agree with it.
They won't replace that on the upcoming, I think, few years. The tool are good, but there's way back from the accuracy and the capability that currently human and mankind can give it. It's doing well, but not replacing us. Again, engineers or most of us at upcoming are foreseeing a year or two, from my perspective.
Okay. So and that actually relates to my next question. Give me one prediction for AI in the next 5 years. What do you think? What do you think is going to be some impact or where AI is going to get to in 5 years?
In 5 years, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It changed rapidly. It's hard to say.
I know.
I don't know if AGI will be in 5 years. I think we're doomed. I don't think they will get to this point in 5 years. I'm seeing, on my kind of, as I mentioned in the beginning, a decade on the history of kind of development. Seeing now, and also my friend currently, we're seeing also in the upcoming 5 years, you need just one or two good people to kind of build a startup from scratch in all aspects, from engineering, testing, go to market, everything. You need just two brilliant minds with all this AI force that you have to create a kind of beautiful companies with kind of beautiful ideas that back in the days you need to have a force of 100 people that kind of will be able to eventually to get with go to market motion or kind of product that eventually can sell. Today you just not need two to my three kind of, as I mentioned, brilliant people with kind of sharp-minded and with this all AI force that we have from creating a prototyping of the application, backend, marketing, data, you name it.
So you're saying we're going to see more companies built by a couple really brilliant people that are able to do what 100 people were needed.
Yeah, that's for sure. And
Amazing.
I am also seeing, we're seeing that right now, but a lot of companies kind of starting kind of decreasing the amount of kind of engineers that they have. Again, it's not replacing, but one or two engineer be more kind of becoming more productive. I'm seeing also myself. Again, I'm not the actual engineer, but I'm doing that, as a hobby on my free time at night. Kind of the things that I need to do with a couple of hours or months. Now it's taking me a minute or two to kind of do a lot of stuff that I thought that maybe take me a month. So I'm seeing that also improving over time. 5 years from now, maybe you just need to talk to those tools, and you can build companies from just talking to an AI bot.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So I think I agree with you, by the way. I think, at least what we're seeing in development and even within Solid, things that would have taken weeks before are now taking hours or maybe a couple of days. So it's increasing productivity like
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah. Totally.
which allows us to deliver more and faster. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
hmm
Almog, thank you very, very much for your time today. It was super interesting for me, and I'm sure for the listeners too. If you're listening to this episode, remember to like, subscribe, rate, thumbs up, like whatever it is on the platform that you're on. And we'll see you in the next episode. And Almog, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you, Evan. Bye bye.